Oh, 5 people in the waiting room. Okay, let's see. Well, admit, 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 admit.
Got
And then Jean, we will make the co-host wherever she is.
Hello.
Hi, Jean. Oh, there you are. Okay. Make co-host. Okay.
Excellent.
I got a message from Terry Green for you, Steve.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
not going to be able to make it tonight. She's just got home from work and she's exhausted.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I hope Terry's getting something out of me sending everything to her anyway.
I'm sure she is, and I'm sure she's probably able to watch the
Video.
YouTubes when she's got the time and she's more energetic. So
Cool.
How are you feeling, Steve?
Excuse me, still under the weather.
Oh no.
Last week's little what I thought was a little bit of like a cold or lung infection turned out to be pneumonia. I've been down for the count most of the week, and
Oh no.
oh my God, what an interesting big face you've got. That was actually like, I liked it. Hi, Carol. Can we hear you this week?
You can hear me.
All
yay!
right. Yay.
Did you ever figure out what the problem was?
It was the last upgrade that Microsoft did.
Oh wow!
That's annoying.
And yeah, to say the least. And
We
Geek Squad, I've had them for years. And when I called them, they said they've had a lot of phone calls over it.
we had an enormous international meeting, actually a speaker on health and well-being for our company, and he couldn't get on because of that damn upgrade.
Yeah.
Oh no!
It's so bad.
Oh.
Jeez.
No, it was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah, when Zoom.
Well,
It's
what version?
Microsoft though.
What version is it that's causing the problem? 10 or 11?
I think it was 11.
Okay.
Yeah, it's yep. I spent years with Apple, and in my heart, I'm still with Apple, except years ago, I went into real estate and they weren't supporting Macs at all.
Really?
And so I had to switch to a PC, and yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, this was, it's more than 1 or 2 years ago. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I have a love-hate relationship. Mostly hate.
With which one?
Which
Microsoft?
Yeah, with Microsoft. Yeah.
Yeah, I switched to Apple about 10 years ago for a couple of programs that they only supported, and they were great. And so far so good.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and recently I went to save a PDF and the system wouldn't allow me to save a PDF. And so now Microsoft is now charging me $7 a month, so I have the privilege of saving a PDF.
That is so annoying. That's why I don't have Word.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Man, this whole membership situation is so annoying.
Yeah.
And it's so profitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the nature of, the modern business cycle, right? So, well, anyway, gang, let's see how we doing. We're still early. What do you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you early birds. I really like Hi Jan. I really like the fact that
We're eager.
You're
Eager
eager.
beavers.
Eager beavers.
Eager beavers. Here we go.
There's Terry. Hi, Terry. Thank you, Jean, for being right on top of it and letting people in as my fully alert counter self. Queen Jean, the operating machine. Well, the good news for you guys tonight is that because of my overall general state of kind of low energy, you guys are going to get a chance to do a lot of reading and a lot of checking on things. So you're going to have a lot of practice. And Jean's got her diadem on, so that's very good. And
and it's the Ravenclaw colors.
it is the Ravenclaw colors. Yeah, no cussing. And
Okay.
and
Uh-oh.
and I love it. And she's going back to her nature spirit Divic roots.
Yep.
And-
All
Listen
right,
to Mother
we're
Earth.
heading
Well,
up.
there you go. Alexandra's got her fancy hat on.
Oh, I like that one, Alexandra.
Well, I'm in Derby
Oh,
country.
and Carol.
Oh my goodness.
I'm
You're in
love
Derby
that.
country. Are
I'm
you in
in
Kentucky
Louisville.
right now?
I am.
Oh,
Cool.
Are you
Well-
seriously in Kentucky?
I'm in Louisville.
No kidding.
huh.
No.
Where the Derby? Is the Derby happening? I don't know anything about
Derby's
it.
over.
Frequencies.
They closed the track today, actually, because of
Oh.
all the deaths. They're
Well,
investigating
no,
it
they closed the track last week.
last week. Okay.
And so I'm with the General Federation of Women's Clubs. Their international convention is here now, tomorrow. There was a tour supposedly of the tracks, get to see some of the horses, all of that. Women paid $90 to do this, and they just got to see the museum and got a buffet. They were not amused.
Yeah, everything's moved to another track
Yeah.
for a while.
By the way,
Yeah.
everyone, I want to make a couple of introductions. I want to introduce Kong Nay.
Hey, Con.
And Kong lives in San Francisco. She's a first cadre, second entity sage. Go us. Entity mate of mine. I discovered Kong through Artist Bo and Troy Tolley, and she's been coming to the local entity mate, and so I invited her tonight to give her some exposure to this, wacky bunch of misfits, and to invite her to stretch her Mikey muscles. And there's
Yay.
Peter, and he's got Barbara in the background. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Barbara. Hi.
Hi, Barbara. Hi,
Hi.
Peter.
So,
Hi.
Peter, I
Hey,
congratulate you for, being on time in spite of all your other commitments, man. I thank you. I am honored and impressed. So
You should be.
what can I say? If I could
It's been a
bow
long
before
uphill
you, I
fight
would.
all day,
Oh,
and we've been losing, but we're here
Oh,
on
no.
time. Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, as a few more folks come in, I want to just generally welcome everyone, oldies and newbies. Excuse me. And I just want to let you know a few things. I actually am in recovery or hanging out with pneumonia. So I apologize to how much I'm going to be clearing my throat tonight. I will be working hard to keep myself not talking and letting you guys do as much as of that with each other as you can, so that I'm not blasting your eardrums with my clearing my throat. That's number one. Number two, I've got a couple of new layouts. One is completely an improv that we're going to do for Tony tonight, Tony Sinceri. And another one is one that I sent out, an email to you all this week, letting, illness be inspiration. I created a health and healing spread. And so I've taken a couple of snapshot spreads of the health and healing layout. And, maybe even we do one live, and some of you, some of you want a general group input. We'll have one of you ask a question, and I'll put it up on the general screen, and we will all focus in on you. So
just a quick notice, I don't have my cards with me today, so.
not to
Sorry.
worry, Don't worry. We will use the online version, and I also have the camera, and yet another camera. And this is a little better. And I've been trying to figure out the lighting in here. And it's still odd. We have a big picture window in here that casts a really odd glare, and I haven't been able to completely eliminate it. But at least we will be able to see the cards, and you will be able to have me move around the cards. So as if you yourself were touching them.
You know, that light makes it look like you've got a very strange hat on, Steve.
Well, it's what it
You
is.
better get that fixed.
It's a multi-level halo, is what it is, Peter. Just so you know.
Well, all the more then.
Yeah, it's my dark side halo, my light side halo, my mystical halo, my whatever the hell it is halo, and then the hole in the seventh chakra up there to allow input to come through. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, all right, gang. Well, excuse me. All right. Well, I guess we've got a fair bit of people here tonight. Not as we're missing still about 8 of the regular attendees. For those who may be just forgetting what time it is, or just taking it as osmotically across the universe, whatever it is. We've got 16, great number, good gang, and whoever shows up, shows up. Okay. All right. Well, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to, excuse me. First of all, run a couple slides by you just to, again, where did you go here, Steve? I thought I did something else. Now, can you see that slide?
Yes.
Dow, Nexus, time, cycle.
Yes. Okay, good. Good. That was what I was hoping to do here. So let me get rid of the control bar. If I can. Yes, I can. Good. All right. So oops, come here, you. All right. So a couple of the, as we've been going through this, especially for those of you who are just here once or twice, remember that I'm presenting the Michael teachings in terms of a divinational system. And as such, I'm using, the form of divinational system, I'm using cards. And the significance of using cards for the Michael teaching is, of course, then they report information situationally, rather than say like an overleaf profile or overleaf for the year, which are more interpretive. These are interpretive, but because they actually have a symbolic representative, meaning the card that you select by random, either by pulling it out of your deck or using the online version, there is that added piece of, or should we say segregated piece, I guess would be more accurate to say, where it is you and the energy of the deck vis-a-vis Michael and or whatever other energy you may be asking about. I'm going to let you in on something I'm going to share a few times over. Folks, you don't have to only use this deck consulting Michael. When I built this deck, the consortium distinctly said to me, look, we're just providing a vocabulary here, but you can invite in whatever one of your sources or guides or persons of interest that you would want to inquire to, and actually have them use the cards as the medium of response. So just know that while Michael is always obviously embedded in the deck by virtue of the fact that it's their created vocabulary or their issued terminology, in terms of using it as a vehicle, as a medium for connecting to other sources, you can always use it. That's just a little bit of a side. I want to tell you though, and before we start off, as a way of perhaps helping to orchestrate your mind a little differently, because of the fact that I use these cards in a divinational sense. You see the top of the phrase here, the top of the slide here, it says my ranking of card significance. Because I asked them, I said, if in any given session that a person is going through and pulling cards, what about the cards themselves? How would a person know if they've really got something significant? And they said, okay, well, whenever you pull the Tao card, whether it's in the positive or the shadow pole or the negative pole, it is still the most representative of the deck because it as the zero card, and the zero card you might even say is equivalent to the Fool card in the standard tarot. It represents the all-encompassing everything that's going on. Then at the other end of the deck, the other part of the bookends of this deck is the Nexus card. Because the way that the Tao and the Nexus operate off of each other is the Tao represents the eternal presence of constancy of all that is. And Nexus, of course, represents the inevitability of perpetual change. So you have that interesting, unique paradox of the universe going on. If you get them both in a reading, that could be really amazing. And then, of course, your own understanding of what the Tao is, of what a nexus means to you, your own understanding about parallel lives or realities, influencing this lifetime could be, extremely informative. The next one might surprise you because, as many of you know, this isn't something that's directly mentioned in the Michael teachings. And that is something that the consortium said I had to put in there. And that is the time card, number 70. And number 70, the time card, actually begins the cycle set, which, is it starts with the time card, the 5 soul ages, and then it ends with cycle off. So the time card is important because by the way, folks, if you would be so kind, maybe to mute yourself, so we're not getting, aberrant little distractions there, other than I apologize in advance, again, my coughing. So the time card is really important because remember, it's denoting something of a duration of something, or something of a that may be indicating to you that whatever you're looking at or whatever you're working with actually has, a period around it. It could be whether it's past, present, or future, or it comes up in relationship to some cards that is giving you a hint that it says act now or delay, that kind of thing. So whenever you see the time card, notice how it's contextually laid out to the rest of them. As I just mentioned, the fourth one is the other end of the cycle set, which is cycles off. Because cycle off, you all know that one. That's very important to us, right? Especially us old souls. We're all impatient to, get all our lessons here and get the hell off the physical plane so we don't have to deal with things like karma and bodies and aging and, all those nasty agreements we actually have to maintain. And I saw Alexandra mouth something like karma. Was that what you were saying, Alexandra?
No, pneumonia.
Pneumonia, yeah, right. Pneumonia. Thank you, dear. I appreciate the call out. Anyway, but the cycle off card, I used it, and they told me that it's equivalent to one tarot card that you all know of. Believe it or not, it's equivalent to the death card, but it's also equivalent to the end or a completion of something. So whenever you see a cycle off card, particularly in the positive pole, and especially if it's coming up in context to a question around, what am I doing with something, or where am I with something? If it comes up and it's in the positive pole, what it's telling you, folks, is you may just be finished with the entirety of the thing, or you may be finished with a particular segment or a phase of something you're working with. Down at the bottom, you see I have this cycle set. I know I'm jumping down to the bottom, which is the other 5 cards of the 2 that I just mentioned. Time begins, cycle off ends. But those 5, infancy, childhood, adolescence, maturity, and elder, can also be thought of as stages in a process. They can also be thought of, for those of you who are project managers or literally do anything where you have stages or steps that you have to walk through to get things done. If you get one of those cards, it may not mean literally something about a soul age. It may mean that it's, say, stage 3, that it's in, the adolescence phase. It's developed, it's got something in there, but it's still not yet complete. Whereas if you were to get the elder card, let's say, it's saying, okay, it's at its full, it is at full readiness, and it's time to, put it into implementation. So next set of important cards that are to be, whenever you see them, know that you're getting some important signals. And that is, of course, the role cards. And many of you have heard me say already, those of you who've been here before, talked about, obviously they're numbered exactly the same way as they have been in all the books. The 1 card is the server, 2 card is the artisan, 3 card is the warrior, 4 the scholar, 5 the sage, 6 the priest, and 7 the king. Anytime you get a role card, remember that means it's a major archetypal representation. So it could mean that there is one of those roles in play. If you get 2 or more roles, it could be that they are in some partnership or in juxtaposition. It might mean that they are in some way in some parallel or conflict with each other. Any number of things could be true, but when a role card shows up, and now here's the little hint, especially if it's your own role. So all of you, with knowing your own roles, if you see your own role in one of your own layouts, especially if it's a layout that you're doing for yourself, as opposed to for someone else, because remember, I'm teaching this class from the standpoint of doing both, reading for yourself and reading for someone else, know that it's really significant. Next, as far as kind of ranking their importance, to really pay attention to them, is the personality card, number 56, and the soul spirit, or what I might call, we might think of as the essence card, number 58. Because when they show up, of course, that's very personal, isn't it? Our personality, who we identify as by name. And then the soul spirit card, of course, is how is it's a signal from essence to, influence us, letting us know where we might be on some right track, or we may be off track, or maybe if it's for another person and it shows up, maybe it's an influence of somebody trying to make a communication to you or to that person and what have you. So those are significant. The next ones, the covenants, karmas and life tasks are the 2 I have here particularly, for reasons we're going to see in a minute, especially when we take up Tony's reading. Remember the covenant cards, the 5 covenant cards are, or are there 6? I guess maybe there's, I'll have to count them out on my fingers, kids. But number 65 is the karma card. And of course, karma is a really important one in this teaching. The concept is a transcendental concept. It has been around in several major Eastern religions for thousands of years. Michael adopted it into ours. But the life task card, by contrast, is something that Michael came up with, as their own construct. And it means the life plan, or to some extent, perhaps even our true work. And the reason I say that those 2 are important is because usually when they come up, they are trying to indicate that something is happening on an interactional basis that is important. Remember, that's why I have them in what's called the covenants set. And covenants are really important contracts. They're contracts with ourselves that we make, but they're also contracts, with others and or even the world itself, in the case of perhaps life task. And then lastly, since I've already mentioned the last one, cycle set, the axis cards. And the axis cards, just so you're clear, 61 is the expression axis, 62 is the action axis, 63 is the inspiration axis, and 64 is the assimilation axis. Now I'll end my comments on this slide with just this comment, because it's come up before. But I want to just help you to know, I realize when you heard that order, you probably scratched your head and said, wait a minute, that differs from the traditional teachings, the orthodox Michael teachings, or the original Michael teachings, as I also call them. So I do have expression first. I have action second, because in the applied Michael approach, my philosophical structure has moved things around. I've not changed any of the overleaves, but the order of them does have an importance that I don't want to go into too deeply here. Just know that that's the case. And the inspiration comes once we have actually completed actual action. As many of us know, when we actually get through the hurdle, the crucible, actually do the work and are finished, then we have the true and real feeling about it because we completed it, not the anticipatory projection that our minds give us or our past give us out of our own history, our anticipations. That's one of the reasons that it got moved about. And then number 4, excuse me, 64, the assimilation, is once those 3 stages have been completed, then we digest it, we assimilate it into our being, and then we move on again for a higher order of understanding. That's why those access cards are really important. So when an access card comes up, it's letting you know that a major piece of cognitive orientation and possibly action or emotional understanding is being called for. And when it's assimilative, understand that it means you're digesting something really big and important. So these are kind of the orders of cards. Don't worry. Remember, I send out the these slides with everything each week, and so you'll have them again to review as well as the recording. I wanted to say something here, and this is on the about to introduce Tony's request for our group reading. Today she had a very, very, very significant reading. Now you're going to find out, and I will tell you that it was a reading of her own creation. So it is a custom reading, and we'll have her explain what each of the positions meant to her. But what I really want you to understand is, and why I made this little slide, is because she started going on and saying, well, should I pull more cards? Should I pull more cards about, and what I wanted to let you know is, folks, don't draw too many cards at any one time. You'll notice that the largest single layout that I have constructed consists of 10 cards, the Revelation spread. And it is the biggest, broadest questioning. And 10 is the maximum that I would ever recommend anyone to pull in a single spread. Why? Because it's liable to overwhelm your mind with too much data and too much interpretation. And of course, and you see what I did there for fun, I also put that, of course, overwhelm is the negative pole of card 37, which is Jupiter body type. That's overwhelm, the negative pole. And it leads to confusion. And we know that confusion is the negative pole of growth, which is card 13. But most importantly, and I didn't put a number on this, is it can lead us into getting stuck or trapped in the negative pole of the intellectual center, which we also colloquially call analysis paralysis. And analysis paralysis can render our readings oftentimes overwhelming to us, but also meaningless to us because we've taken in too much data. And then the same is true from the standpoint of doing, just try and do, one reading at a time and digest it a bit. Let yourself sit with it. Journal about it if you're going to want to do something. And as I said, if you are doing a reading and it looks confusing to you, remember you can always pick up your deck, pick up your, fan it again and pick out one more card, or maybe even 2 cards if called for, to help lend some clarification. And you can do that for the entire reading, or you can do that for a specific card that you're confused about in the reading. Okay. So thank you for letting me go on a little bit with that. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to get into our exercise. And I'm going to bring up the card layout for you to see in just a second, but let me explain what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be doing a group reading, and like I invited you last time, I have the cards literally laid out on the table here, and I will turn on the second camera for you all to look at. Then I'm gonna turn it over to Tony Sunseri to explain to you all what her question was. And you see there it says move to France. Okay, that's the general topic, but she can tell you more of the detail. And hopefully, because Tony's a sage, we can keep her explanation, under 3 or 4 hours. And just kidding it, Tony. Maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Anyway, and then like last time, excuse me, I will have you guys raise your hands to the camera, and my co-presenter, my wizard of the crown, Queen Jean, will be looking for hands, and she will call at you, tell me one at a time who has had their hand up, and then I'll call upon you to give, either ask your questions of Tony or make your comment about the layout, etc.
Also, Steve, one thing, if people could use the reactions button, that would be helpful because I don't see everybody on the screen with the layout screen. So that way I can keep track of who's raising their hand.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. So hopefully you all know where your reactions button is, down at the bottom of the screen. By the way, I see Karen got on the hats theme today. Way to go, Karen. Karen Dewey. Yay, Karen. All right. So, and it looks like Alexander took hers off. Anyway, and there's Melanie. All right, very good. So, and hi, Patricia.
And Tony's got hers on now.
Okay, and Tony's got hers on.
Same.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick out of this. So I'm going to stop share for just a moment. And I am going to turn on the second camera. And hopefully we'll all be able to see this. As I said, I've had some difficulty. Oh, no. I want the second camera. I said stop share. Let's go back to second camera. Oh no. Content from second camera and share. And let's see if this does it. Yay, it worked. All right, so let's see what we've got here. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize that we've got some glare on these cards. As I said, this room is really cockeyed lighting wise, and I'm still learning. So, but if you can see, so Tony, why don't you explain first of all what order of cards did you lay down here first of this grouping?
Okay, it started this morning with pulling my motivational card, which was card number 1 of Warrior. And I went and made my pot of tea, and my roommate informed me that I have to leave in January. Many of you know I've been planning to move to France for a number of years, and I've been very methodical about it, which is weird for an artisan sage or sage artisan. So I came back, and I did not have my cards for a long time. They got stolen, and Steve sent me a new deck. And I've been working with these cards for 10 years. So now this is the first real reading since I charged this deck on 6/6. So I asked, is the move to France a reality, or is it something that I need to find another place to live? I mean, it's just been kind of a constant. So I used the Future Oracle. And then when I kind of laughed at what I got, I pulled the 7th card asking, is this for real? Is this a yes or is this a no card? So that's where you are. Do you need more information?
So, okay, so let's just see here. So you pulled the Warrior card first. What was your second card?
If you follow the Future Oracle, so second card would have been Moving Center in the positive pole.
Okay.
Third card would have been Arrogance, the ego in the 3rd position, Nexus in the 4th, with the 5th being the outcome card, and then I pulled a 6th card to clarify, was this a joke, or was I really, was this really what I was supposed to be looking at?
Okay, so this is the future oracle spread essentially,
With
and
the secondary clarification card,
and then and is that the karma card then?
the karma card, yes.
Okay. All right, so I'll give you guys a couple of hints, and then I'm ready for you guys to jump in. And in case you're
Oh, and by
wondering,
the way, I use the swishy, on this, my desk that I now have again. The only card that I physically pulled was the warrior and the karma, because the rest of them literally jumped out into my lap. And
oh,
I put them out there as they had jumped out.
interesting. So, for those of you who weren't here last week, let me just remind you of something I said that I think is very important. Given the nature of energy and given the nature of divination, if you drop a card or a card jumps out of the, jumps out when you're shuffling your cards, or like when Tony was doing, the swish method, which is just put it on the table and mix them all up. If cards come out that way, I think that's significant. I usually go with it myself, and Tony did. So thank you, Tony. Okay, so let me ask a general question. First of all, when you observe all 6 of these cards, is there something in all 6 of these cards that stands out to you first thing? Anybody?
Yes.
Who was that? Patricia or?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did. I was just going to say it's all positive.
Good. It's all the positive pole. Good job. That is one of the most important things as a starting place to notice the polarity of the reading. We started talking last week that I said all positive is wonderful because we all think, wonderful things about positive, and we all get freaked out at negative. But it'd be interesting to see if Beth is here tonight, if she actually followed through with her desire to look at what it would be like to do a reading of something all in the negative poles and what that would mean for her. But Tony got them all in positive. Okay.
Which
Next
is why
player.
I pulled the 7th card, just to make sure I wasn't. That's why I pulled the 7th card.
Got it. Okay. Got it. So just out of curiosity, what other things, other layers as far as similarities do you notice here?
I think Kong has a
Kong?
comment. Is it
Okay, go ahead, Kong.
Yes, I put it in the chat section. Basically, one thing I noticed is the image on the life task card. It has the Eiffel Tower on it. So I think it's very fitting to the question.
Ah, excellent observation. Thank you, Kong.
I totally missed that.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. I really appreciate your comment. I knew you'd have fun, Kong. Hey, there's another entity mate, Tony, Kong. And you too, Kong, another entity mate, Tony. Anyway, that is perfect. Now, let me use that as an illustration. Kong went and saw a subtlety right off the bat, which is awesome. But that is really some of the really cool underlying ways that the cards can be messaged. Is that here Tony is talking about France, and what is in the background image of one of her, of one of the cards she chooses? It is probably France's best known monument, right? The Eiffel Tower. Okay, and it's in the positive pole, and the word says purpose. And it's also interesting, I think, because also notice that in this reading, we have 2 covenant cards. We have life task, which is personal to Tony, and we have a karma card that is showing resolution. And does anyone notice anything about the image on the karma card that might be of interest?
Sure, the key.
Aha, good. So it's the key. And the fact that Tony chose this card as a representative of wanting to get some kind of validation. Was that true, Tony?
Yes, that's
Okay.
true.
How does that resonate for all of you, knowing where she picked it and then the card she got? Any comments?
Yeah, well, the key is literally like going to opening a new door or going to a new place.
I think that's an excellent interpretation. Absolutely. And that the fact that this is a karmic resolution. So Michael students, and for those of you who are not, what do we know about karma as opposed to its counterpart, self-karma? It would imply that this means something is done between Tony and someone else. Does that make sense?
Or it will going to France will cure some karma from
possibly.
someone.
And that may
So
be,
what I'm gonna throw in a little bit of tidbit here. Where I live now is with someone who I have had many life experiences with, and it's always been very difficult, and we always come back to each other. And the curveball this morning was my kick in the ass that going with the flow and not really being true to myself and being laissez-faire, which is one negative aspect of my goal of flow, literally led me to say, okay, yeah, this is done. That was what it said to me anyway.
excellent. Excellent, Tony. Thank you. This is good. Terry Benning, I see you have your hand up.
Well, we also have a
Oh.
a question before that
Oh.
from Catherine. In what order was the life task card drawn?
Thank
She
you, Catherine.
answered that too.
Oh, she did.
said
Okay.
Oh,
that-
she did. Okay. All right. Sorry. Now it's-
Literally, after, to clarify, after I pulled my day card, went and got my pot of tea and found out this situation, I took that card as number one and then said, okay, I need a future oracle reading. So I used that as card number one. Cards number 2, 3, and 4 literally fell out onto the floor. And I then pulled randomly card number 5, life task, and then laughed and looked at it for a while, sent Steve a text, and then had pulled another card, which was like, okay, is this a joke? I mean, or is this really? And then I pulled the karma card.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. And Catherine said she got her question asked, and I wanted to make sure I hit Terry's. I see her hand up there. Terry Benning, did you have
we
your
have
hand
Terry and then Patricia.
up? Okay, Terry, then Patricia.
Okay. Well, just the two, the life task and the karma card, just intuitively, I was getting that part of her life task involves the resolution of karma. Well, it looks like she really, I don't know, the moving center and everything. I just got this feeling of her life task involving the completion of some karmas in France.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily here.
Okay.
So the part of her life task kind of requires her to go to France in order to complete some karmas.
Interesting. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Terry, for that input.
You're
See,
welcome.
this is good narrative building, gang. Very good narrative building. Now, let's see. I see Peter Winchell's hand
And
up.
Did Patricia, did you not have
Oh, Patricia, you're up.
I did. Just quickly, one thing I found interesting on the cards is on the arrogance card, I think it's King Henry VIII,
Yes, indeed.
another French related thing. I mean, it's in the negative upside down, but it's still kind of relevant that it showed up.
So if we were to turn it upside down, of course, you can all see there's Henri Ocho. as I bastardize two languages, right?
Wheat.
Wheat.
Wheat
Well,
is 8.
Also, my negative cheap feature in the double dose of negative cheap feature. In the
Oh,
cheat
is
sheet.
arrogance?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Both the personal and then the first and second. Tertiary is, I think, impatience.
I see. Okay. So in other words, I can imagine that you getting arrogance as part of this reading must have given you a little bit of smile.
Well, that's why I pulled the 7th card or the 6th card.
I see. Okay.
And moving center is actually my empty center. It is the one that gets me off the hamster wheel.
I see. Or perhaps started on the hamster wheel. If, because otherwise maybe it sounds like you're just standing there thinking and feeling. So, okay. All right.
Next we have Peter.
Patricia, will you complete, Patricia?
Yes.
Okay. So next was Peter then.
This is just a detail, but maybe Tony just answered it. She said several times she pulled a 7th card, but we're only seeing 6. So.
I know that was the photograph she sent me. So what was it, Tony, by the way? I did.
Okay, I don't know. I'm going to pull one right now. I'm going to pull a 7th card. Let's just see what happens. The 6th card was kind of like, you got to be kidding. Are you serious? So I'm pulling a 7th card right now.
Oh, I see. You were alluding to a 7th card, even though you had not pulled. Okay. Because I only saw 6 in your picture.
Okay, guys. All right.
All right. So what is it? And I'll match it on the screen.
See me? Can you see me?
I can't see you. No. But what is
towards your left, Tony? Towards your left. There you go. A little bit in front of your face.
If you could verbally tell me what it is, I will fish the card out.
The positive pole of pragmatist.
The positive pole of pragmatist. All right, let's see if I can get that and display it for everyone.
All right. That just cracked me up. I'm sorry. This reading despite the fact that I was really freaked out this morning, in a way kind of cracked me up. It was kind of like essence, like nudging me with the elbow. But
there's no nudging and there's no elbow. Pushing you straight in the back. Go, girl, go.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's a good
what
point.
You wanted to say, Alexandra?
No, I had a couple of things, if it's okay.
Go ahead. Well, but let me ask if Peter's complete, first of all. Okay. Peter, did you, with that 7th card, which we just put down, the pragmatist and the positive pole, did that answer your question, Peter?
Sort of.
Okay.
I didn't need a 7th card. I just needed to have what she was saying.
Thank
match
you.
What I was looking at. Wait a minute. So it's okay.
Yeah,
okay, thank you. All right. So I believe Alexandra was up next.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I don't know how you can. I mean, I do know because we all doubt ourselves, but you pulled persuasion, pride, purpose, productivity, serendipity, resolution. How could you have doubted this is go, girl, go? Just for starters.
Because I'm always a cockeyed optimist and I bitten in the ass. So that was why I pulled the 6th card to begin with, like going, really? And I have only been working with these cards for like 3 or 4 days, but I've been working with the Michael cards for 10 years since the very first deck.
So you're saying that you've only worked with this deck for 3 or 4 days. Is that what you're saying?
But I've been working with the cards for like 10 years. Okay. But I charged them on the 6/6 portal. And, like I said, I just sort of let them do what they wanted to do today because I was feeling really unbalanced.
Well, I hope this helps put you back into balance because it seems pretty clear.
Flow, my goal of flow slides to growth. Okay, can
What a
I
great-
like add something, Steve, to this? Which
ahead.
goes to your
Sure.
slide of too many cards.
Yeah.
There is a major reason why I have not made this move, even though I've wanted to move for a long time. And it's that I have a now 17-year-old rat terrier who I met when he was 2 weeks old. He's now living in the house that he was born in. I was never going to make my long stay visa application until he died. That's always been for the last 18, 19 months. That was the understanding. So this morning, I moved back to Tallahassee because my 2 animals and I could not find a place to live in Wilmington. I've got all of my belongings except for my desk, which we're now sitting at, and you don't see me bobbing up and down like everybody's seen me for the last 2 years. I'm actually sitting at a desk with a chair. And then I found out that I have to leave this place. Yes, I have a window of time in order to do it. But the reality is, short of like euthanizing my dog for somebody's convenience, mine or someone else's, that is a major concern to me, which was why I wanted to pull more cards, and I really fucking hate the practicality card. I hate that because the pragmatist in me says my dog is 17 years old and is on his literal last legs, but he's not, his name is Pandemonium for a reason, So anyway, all right, I'm gonna stop talking.
So
I know that was like 5 or 6 minutes, Steve, sorry.
Fine, Tony.
Alexandra, are you still?
I had one more question. Looking at the future spread, it looked like arrogance was in the present.
No, it was in
And-
the ego poll, number 3.
Okay, that's where I thought it should be, but
Yeah.
I wasn't, it didn't seem to come out that way. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Then I'm done.
1
Thank
was
you.
persuasion, card 2 was the moving center productive, card 3, the ego position was arrogance,
Okay.
which is laugh. Card 4 was serendipity, like happy surprise, and then the outcome was life task. Also, if anybody else knows about me, the book that I've been diligently for the last 32 years been working on is a life task agreement with my warrior cast cadence mate.
By the way, I just want to make a couple of comments. First of all, for those of you trying to follow along, the future Oracle spread, if you have your pocket guide, it is on page 22. Good. So many of you have already done that. If you need to go to the website, michaelcards.com, you can do the drop-down menu. It says layouts and spreads, and you'll see it listed in that group.
Page 17 on the old manual.
Oh, page 17 on the old manual. Okay, good. So in any case, it'll tell you the positions and what they are. But I want to just comment that and commend Alexandra for doing what a few of you have been doing tonight, but Alexandra really did a broad-based one. And that is, remember, you're forming narratives with the words on the cards. And she went through and she took the positive polls and literally made a sentence out of them. And it was a pretty convincing and pretty complete sentence in its own right. And then we heard Tony actually respond and remark, how it even pressed a few of her buttons. And I wanted to point that out because, for those of you who have been, in self-help work for a lot of years, and by the way, I see Renee and Terry also chiming in, so I'll get to you in just each in a moment, is that that some of our most richest grist for the mills, so to speak, is often when we have some kind of a emotional resistance to something, because it usually is showing us something or some place in us that we're having a difficulty with. And so Tony's reaction to the pragmatist card is a case in point I just wanted to call out, it's interesting, Tony, I'll point out to you, as Kong so rightly and so astutely noticed that the Eiffel Tower was the background photo for the life task card, I want to point out the positive pole photo of the pragmatist card. It's the alternative option key from a computer, alt option. And that ultimately is what practicality is about, is creating alternative options for yourself. And, so, your devotion and love of Panda doesn't mean to me that he has to be forced out of your life or your life be put on hold because of it. It's about generating some different options. And this card's energy is telling you that it can favor that kind, because notice what it is. It's an assimilative axis card. That means it's variable. By its very nature, it's variable. And so notice what I'm doing here, especially Michael students who know this teaching well. I'm calling upon your knowledge of understanding that, when you look at any of these cards, think about the axis that it falls on if it's an overleaf card, because that's also a piece of its energy embedded in it. And in case of the pragmatist, hey, remember that all assimilative axis cards, those yellow cards, all swing to a secondary, usually as a first kind of alternate option. So you can go and you can play with that. So Terry, I hope you don't mind. I think Renee and you had your hands up together, but we haven't heard from Renee tonight, so I wanted to give her a chance. Hopefully you don't mind. Thank you very much. Renee, did you have a comment you wanted to put in? You're muted still, Renee.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Yeah. So I'm not familiar with the layouts and I don't read cards usually with layouts, but just intuitively, I got, yes, of course you should move to France. But what I got intuitively is that when you're making your plans to get to France, once you're going to be there, that what's going to come up is the pride and the arrogance. And that's going to come up as you're making your move and where you're going to be. And in mind as you're making plans, like, is this going to be something where I'm operating out of arrogance and pride or not? That's something that I got intuitively.
Excellent. Thank you, Renee. That's excellent input. And especially just to give you some input about this particular layout, number 3 card in this layout is the ego block. So you even the way you described it perfectly, and the chief features that in the Michael teaching, arrogance is one of, is an ego block. So she got an ego block in an ego block space. So it's sort of like a double, it's like, be aware, you can be proud of your hard work, but don't be too arrogant about the way things should show up, because it'll trip you up. And then Terry, and then we'll go to Catherine. Thank you, Renee. Terry Benning.
So I was just looking at this, but I just keep getting this flashing light on serendipity. This is all about timing, okay? And I think a lot of what maybe you've been experiencing, Tony, is right timing, like there's a time when it's all going to, come together. And you're not quite sure when that is, but this reading seems to be saying that it's going to happen, right? I mean, it is going to come together, but I was just getting a hit on that. On the serendipity is really important, because that's when all the right things all come together to let it be so effortlessly, okay, without having to really work at it. Being able to flow, that's your goal, right? Being able to flow with it. And so I would pay attention to right timing.
So I'm going to throw this out, because literally what has kept me from this move for 5 years now has been my dog.
That's what I want to address.
And
can I address that, Tony? Because that's what I want to address. That's what I was getting.
Yeah, I mean, that is why I'm not there now. That's why I moved back to Tallahassee, because I could not find a home that I could have both my animals that I've had since they were 3 months old each. The Dow. Did you just pull that, Steve? I'm gonna cry.
It just popped out. I was going to pull a card on this subject, and this is what
Yeah,
came
but-
out. And also in the positive poll, the most important card in the deck came up, and you now have both sides of the deck represent of the bookends. These are both ends of the Dow. So your loyalty I don't think has been wasted. But it also says that whatever change that's happening, it's right for now. That's my
Okay.
estimate.
All right.
Go ahead, Catherine.
So Catherine,
Okay, Tony, what I found is you got your reading, and if you decided to follow through with the proposed plan, your purpose would be equal to your life task. It would be fulfilling and everything else. You drew a clarification card because you have a burden. You knew that there was something bothering you, which
Yeah.
is the dog. The card that you got said resolution. The problem is going to resolve itself. It's not going to become a big problem for you. So you will have a decision that will be satisfactory
then
by
I
the
have the
time
cat
you need to
too.
make this. I know. The cat may well be able to come with you.
They're my family. That was always the goal. That was always the goal. But
I'm feeling that the problems will resolve themselves by the time it comes for you to make the decision.
I just met him when he was 2.5 weeks
I
old.
know it's hard.
Father's Day of 2006.
Yeah.
And as much as he annoys the crap out of me sometimes, he's my husband dog. You can't divorce a dog. You can divorce a husband. You can't divorce a dog. And that has always been the thing that has slowed me from my desire to move where I feel like I need to go.
I really think that the concern will resolve itself so that it is no longer a concern. Either he'll find a way to come with you or something will happen.
He would not make the trip, Catherine.
Yeah, I understand.
Health-wise, he couldn't make it.
But
Which
Let me
is
make
why
a comment before Jean does. And then Jean, I'm going to turn it over to you. Notice this is a great way we're having a conversation. This is the most important part of this tool, is that people are evaluating, we're inputting, we're bouncing it back and forth between we, the readers, and Tony, the recipient. Good job, everybody. Jean.
Yeah,
So,
thank
Tony-
you, everyone.
Tony,
it
what
means a lot to
What I see, I kind of agree with Catherine, especially since the Dow card came out. I'm an idealist, but what I see is all things are possible in the Dow. And so my sense is you are stuck on pragmatist as meaning certain things, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean leaving your dog.
Right.
No, Jean, my dog would not survive.
Well, no. What I'm saying is I would caution you to let this unfold. Don't stop it in its tracks. Because he may leave you, or someone may take him that feels like, yes, 100%, or something. I'm just saying I see options that maybe you're not seeing. So don't stop this in its tracks. Let it unfold, because I agree with some of the others. This feels like, yeah, do it. And the time is right. It doesn't mean you're moving tomorrow, right? So you're going to need to plan and so
Well, I've been planning since 2014, so
right.
how pragmatic of me.
But pragmatism doesn't have to mean, I think, necessarily the limited amount you may think it means, potentially.
No, I've literally put moving as fastly forward as I wanted to because of my animals.
which I totally understand. Yeah.
So that is your nexus point then, Tony, in this.
Yeah.
Is your animals. And you've been instructed that that you are on task. You literally pick the moving center card.
I know.
And that there is a karmic resolution in here. So Kong, you had a comment.
Right.
It is more of a question, and then I can make some comments. So Tony, a hypothetical question. Will you say that if it's not for your beloved dog, you can move to France without any other challenges? You're already fully prepared.
Yes, I actually have been diligently working towards expatting since 2014. I became first goal was debt free. February 1st, I became debt free. I've been traveling back and forth since 2014 to make sure I really wanted to be in that area. I know I have to leave Florida. Florida is a shit show. Florida is terrifying me.
I definitely see a lot of moving center cars in this deck too. The Warrior and also the moving center itself. I think it shows me that it's advising you to take action, and not to be afraid of some of the concerns you might have. Sometimes things will work out in the ways that's unexpected.
Well, literally down to my animals, because I'm down to 80 square feet of personal belongings in storage. I mean, I've literally been like piece by piece, pragmatically making this move. This was the last piece that hit my emotional center. And of course, with the intellectual being the intellectual part of the emotional center, that's my hamster wheel.
Yeah, yeah, like some of the other people say, I feel there might be options that you might have not thought of.
The reality is my dog is 17 and a half. So unless somebody wanted to take on the dog that is relatively healthy in the scheme of being 17 or 119 years old, leaving him behind and knowing that if I left him in someone else's care, that I might not get a chance to say goodbye to him is really hard.
Yeah. So let me just interject here, gang, because we're at an hour. And I want to
thank you guys, everybody. You have literally brought me to tears, and I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Tony. I hope that's been of use to you. And Jan apparently has one more comment, and then we'll take a couple of minute break and then start on to a couple of other readings that we'll all be participating in. Jan Russell, you had something? You're on mute, dear. You're on mute, Jan. There you go.
That it sounds to me like the karma is with your dog. And that's the thing that needs to be resolved. But I agree with everybody else. I mean, obviously, this spread says France is the place for you. So you'll work it out.
Well, ironically, I literally got this information after she handed me my contract for my apartment that I've rented for the month of October in Perpignan. That was what my housemate / landlord started this whole conversation with, was handing me the contract that I just signed to spend the entire month in Perpignan, France.
Well, it looks like there is some serendipity there, girl.
Oh Lord. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Love you all so much. I really truly appreciate everything that was said.
All right, good. So, gang, thank you all for really, really great participation and input. And before we just take a 5-minute break, just remember, and what I want to emphasize again is good job on helping Tony come out and have a chance to have a conversation with her. Good job on constructing narratives from the cards. Good job for making inferences. For those of you who were able to start seeing the layers, I also heard Kong just mention one that was I didn't see pointed out. Or maybe Patricia pointed it out earlier, but about the two warrior cards. First of all, the warrior role itself, very important, because we know about warrior, right? It is the archetype of challenge, not just battle, but of challenge, right? Fortitude, having to confront things. And so there it was right there. But also the warrior's nested center, the moving center. And you can't get much more pointing in the way of get to it, right? Talking about our interpretations of things. So again, everyone, thank you. So let's go ahead and take 5 minutes. I think we are at about, what are we at here? What time is it? Is it a couple minutes after 6? I can't see my.
So
Or after.
Okay, so let's start again at 6:10. I'm going to have you guys do a reading that I picked today for a friend, and I'll explain more when we get back. Okay, but go ahead and do your bathroom breaks and all that kind of good stuff, and we will go from there. All right. Okay. Very good. And I'm going to also mute myself.
So Steve, it's weird. I can see you on the large screen, but on the little thumbnails, you are still have stop video. And also you're muted too.
Yeah, I can't hear you at all.
So you could see me. Lucky I wasn't picking my nose or something.
I was starting to worry. Now we can't hear you either.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, I was gonna say I just took myself off of pause. All right, well, I'm gonna get back off of stop share here and have a good laugh at myself. I will start sharing again in a minute, but for now, I'll just be here. So we'll be ready to start here in just a minute or so, I guess. Is this format working for people, by the way?
Kind of. Can I?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So one thing I realize is I am so as a tarot reader, I'm so used to knowing which position things are in.
Mhm.
And the last spread was confusing because the 7th card was in the 2nd spot and the 6th card was in the 3rd spot. You know what I mean? It was really confusing to get a grip on what was going on. And then I think Tony said something about she drew the 3rd card the first time and then you know what I mean? So I just want to let you know that the layout is really important to me, and I see some head nodding. It may be helpful to, since in your little booklet, it doesn't have a diagram. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4. So it may be helpful to have 1, 2, 3, you know what I mean? So we can kind of follow, because I really couldn't get a grip on what position things were in. It was confusing.
I understand.
So I had to pull the cards and actually put them into position for myself to see it. Why I asked for clarification. Yeah.
No, that's fine. We're gonna do. I'm gonna start off, and I guess we're probably back on. Is everyone back?
Sure.
News: Trump is indicted. Yay! Okay. Well, so what I'd like to do with you guys here is actually introduce you to a new spread, and I'm going to go over the positions, and then we're going to read a spread that I did for my friend, and see what you guys have to say on this. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share. First of all, let me ask everyone: are there any? I don't see any hands raised. Are there any questions to clean up before we begin anew? Okay, Jean, I imagine you're scanning for me. Okay, so all right, well, great, thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, so I'll presume you're back, and you're ready to see me go on to this next thing. All right. Well, so far in this class, I have been trying to, not trying to, I have obviously been introducing you to new layouts. And I'm also trying to, help you to get accustomed to what the cards mean and do and so forth, all at the same time. So I realize that this may be, I try not to make it confusing, but I'm hoping that this layered approach also gives you more comfort and feel of actually doing the layouts rather than me just lecturing. All right, so what I wanted to just share with you is this is a layout that I created this week, laying in bed between coughs, and it was, pretty much about my own circumstance, right? So it's called Health and Healing Spread. And the idea to this, of course, is, this isn't, you can ask about anything. I did ask, and I can show you one of the readings that I took a snapshot of. And it's talking about, asking about the metaphysical causes, underlying a dis-ease, right? Or an injury or a condition. Excuse me. So if you're in a situation, I realize none of the other spreads really did that. So that's why I decided I'd create this. Now we all know that, the physical plane subjects us to pathogens like this, bacteria that's caused my pneumonia and so forth, or accidents and illnesses. And yet we also know that sometimes things are very karmically directed. We have a circumstance or a situation because it causes us to do something or face something or have an experience of something that we might not have otherwise entered into unless we were somehow having, an infirm spot about it. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to show you the card layout and what they mean. So first card will be your condition. So when you're asking about, this layout, you're saying, okay, so what's really going on here? And then the second card you see is, what is evident? What are the symptoms that I'm having? And of course, remember, these aren't going to sound necessarily, logical because they're not talking necessarily about physiological events at all. But I did this layout for this, this reason. So we have the condition, which is the diagnosis, what your issue is really about. And of course, your issue, you type in here, so if I were to type in, Steve's, pneumonia, right? And then what does it mean? All right, so I'm not going to punch it just yet. We'll come back to this. But in any case, then there's the cause. And of course, the cause is asking, what's the energy that's interfering with your energy? I got to work on the grammar on that one. Meaning, what might be the real underlying issue? Then the treatment. Okay, what's being called for to deal with the issue? This might be something overt, might be something more subtle. But this number 5 is really an important card. I think it's because it's asking what really needs healing, what might be the hidden malady. So of course, like if you got the karma or self-karma card here, or you got one of your overleaves, say in maybe one of the negative poles, or maybe your own role, any number of things of cards that might be particularly curious or significant to you might show up here and give you some indication of something that's going on in the background. And then lastly is the prognosis and what happens next, after this injury or this condition or this illness clears itself. So this readout of 6 cards, this layout of 6 cards was meant for the purpose of, again, dealing with some kind of a physical illness primarily, or physical injury, or maybe a condition that you can consider is in need of some sort of therapeutic address. I've tried it a couple of times, and I want to show you what that is. By the way, everyone is seeing this, I take it. I'm hoping that's correct. I haven't heard anybody, and I've got my ears on, and so I'm assuming. Okay, you can. All right, very good. Okay, one of the things that I'm going to do here now is before I go ahead and we punch this through to see what kind of an answer we get, does anyone have any comments or an ask about the overall layout itself? In other words, the structure. Because we haven't talked too many about the structures of layouts. What do you think? Are those decent placeholders for getting questions answered to? Alexandra, you nod. Thank you. Tony, okay, appreciate it. Anybody else have a thought about a placeholder that should be in there that you think is not represented? Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so I'm going to say, all right, for right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to punch this up. I'm going to shrink it just a little bit because the button was, there it is. The button was hidden. So, okay, so let's see what it says about my pneumonia today. So I click the ask and I start scrolling down. All right. Now, so let's stop at the first 2. And does anyone want to chime in about just even the first 2 cards? anything of significance you notice? Anyone? All right. Well, I'll give you one that's interesting to me immediately. Remember when I went through the significance of the cards earlier on today? Well, one of the things that here is under the symptoms, this is the essence card, soul spirit, but this is saying, this is in the negative pole. So it's saying that my symptom is a negative pole. And so let's go see what it says here. Whenever to abdicate a choice, you abdicate a choice in itself, you have let loose the forces of fate. In other words, things happening around you rather than taking some lead. So apparently it's implying that, I have more or less backed into the situation. It takes you on whatever journey, no matter how pleasurable or bumpy, to a destination not of your conscious desire. Notice that phrase, conscious desire. So this is all, as I've mentioned before about negative poles, it's suggesting that negative, and Terry made this point last week as well, that in the negative pole, something is not in my conscious awareness. And so that's what this card is seemingly indicating.
Well,
And
also,
yes,
Steve, you don't have the battery. You have no energy.
I have no energy. Thank you, Alexandra. A good use of the photograph, isn't it? Of the images that are on the card. That's exactly why it got there. If you were to see, there's a couple of other cards where you see the battery represented in one of the corner images, and there's a red line, the international no symbol to no energy. All right.
What I'm seeing too is that not only is, so you think about pneumonia. Pneumonia is connected to the lungs, which is connected to the ability to breathe, but also connected to the sage's ability to speak. One cannot speak if one cannot breathe. And by allowing oneself to be depleted, because you're constantly giving out, you're not able to recharge your own batteries. So these symptoms are that, constant outpouring of energy, of prana, of air to others has depleted your batteries significantly.
Thank you, Tony. Great. Now, I skipped over observation, but the diagnosis came up with a positive pole card. And it's interesting, and it's a simulative card, isn't it? It's clarity. It's clarity. And it says the ability to see the truth depends upon the clarity of your vision. Looking before you leap is useful to know the distance you must span. Have you seen enough to decide how to proceed? If not, look, open your eyes wider. Okay. So we have a contrast. We're saying that the condition may, in fact, be somewhat useful in calling my attention to something. And then it's saying the symptoms are something that are possibly an unconscious, something that is draining my battery, as it's been pointing it out. So let's continue on to the next parts of this.
Steve, we have someone with a raised hand.
Go ahead.
Raised her
All right,
hand.
go ahead. Whoever was raising your hand, please speak.
Dawn.
Hi, thank you. It's me. Okay. I think that these two cards together really spoke to me, and it says you are now seeing that, and I hope you don't mind me expounding on my interpretation of this, that there are some illnesses that are going around. You know what I mean? You just catch them because they're going around. And there are some illnesses that are really put upon you when you're going through certain emotional things. And to this, I'm speaking of Louise Hay's book called Heal Your Body. If anybody knows about that, you can just look things up and go, oh, problems with your father, etc. And so this really looks to me like you woke up this morning and you were clearly seeing that this is not just about the body. This is mostly an emotional negative thing that's going on and you are recognizing what's causing it. Thank you.
Excellent, Don. Thank you. I think that's an excellent interpretation. And by the way, thank you for citing that reference. For those of you who know that Louise Hay became kind of a superstar in the New Age self-help movement back in the 80s with, you can heal your body. And then I think she wrote a follow-up called You Can Heal Your Life, I think, too, something like that. But it is a very extended list of metaphysical interpretations of body ailments and what their psycho-emotional or spiritual meanings might be. Good. Anyone else have a comment of this before I move down and
I
start?
do. If you take the two of them together, what I'm hearing or what I'm seeing here is that you need to observe, you need to find clarity in a situation that's involving your spirit, your soul. This is a soul sickness of some sort. And you need to look at that's the cause of it. It's the diagnosis. It's not the observation. It's finding that clarity.
Good. Thank you, Catherine. Anyone else before I move it on to the next one? Okay, then I'm going to jump down. All right, so here's the cause card. Okay, well, so the cause card, it's saying that the energy that's interfering with me, is Mercury in the negative pole. So negative pole is nervousness, anxiety. Oh, go ahead, Catherine. You have a comment?
Oh no, I was just agreeing that makes sense. That fits.
Right. What's so funny is notice the picture of the positive pole guy. Can you see what he's doing? He's smoking a cigarette, gang. And why it's a little humorous to me is because I have smoked tobacco on and off for about 50 years. Now I haven't smoked in about 5 or 6 years now, but I had literally gone on and off smoking for any number of years, and it was always because of nervous anxiety. So, and as far as handling the stress of a situation, there's many fronts that I have stress points on, and that I would love to be able to run as fast as that cheetah to get away from, to be honest with you all. So, okay, let's go down.
Terry has her hand raised.
Oh, Terry, go ahead, Terry.
You muted, Terry.
Terry Benning, are you muted?
Terry, you're muted.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. Okay, so Steve, I'm wondering, where is your Mercury in your natal chart?
See, let me just comment on that. That's another, for those of you who are astrologically oriented, utilize the body types and their interpretation. So let's see, where is my Mercury? That's a good question, Terry. I think Mercury is in my
Excuse me. Hey, Steve.
7th house.
If you want to just really quickly give me your birth information, I'll run a chart and put it on screen if you let me share, if you would like.
Dawn, if you'd like to do that, sure.
Okay. All right, hold on. Let me get a piece of paper. Okay. Birthday.
All right. Birthday is April 19, 1957.
Time of the day.
6:57 p.m.
City and state.
San Mateo, California.
Okay, whoever is in charge, and I think it's Eugene, give me permission to share, and then I'll be back with you in a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead and do your thing. I'm going to continue to go on with this if you don't mind, Dawn.
Yeah.
Because I do have one. Besides mine tonight here, gang, I have one that's very significant to me, a health and healing one that I want you all to go through with me. But it's one that's pre-drawn, and we'll go to that. So anyway, let's go to the treatment. Now, all right, so the treatment is what is called for. It's masculine energy, positive pole focus. Directness and decisiveness are strength and motive of the yang energy. Be direct. So I guess it's telling me to, there's something there that says, just do it. whatever that might be, whatever the it is. Then, interestingly enough, look at this. What really needs healing? Well, do you recognize this, gang? Remember 2 cards that I said were significant in a reading tonight? 56 personality, and it's in the positive pole self. And notice it corresponds to something that my essence is giving me. Number 58, soul spirit. By the way, in case you guys are wondering, the reason I chose the word soul spirit instead of essence is because I wanted people outside of this teaching to be able to, relate to the concept of soul, or I thought they might be able to relate to the concept of their soul or spirit embodied itself if I use that term rather than essence. But I put essence as the positive pole. So, yeah, so this is what needs healing. It says it's something about me and being myself. Hold the intent that everyone present is responding this way, that these are the overleaves that I chose, and act accordingly. All right. So, by the way, do you notice we have 3 brown cards in this reading so far? Remember, these are the augment cards, which I also said are part of that transcendental construct part of the Michael teaching. Soul is a construct that we come up with. Masculine energy is a construct we come up with. And personality is a construct that we come up with. So there's 3 of these transcendental, these intermediate qualities between the physical world and the other world, the conceptual plane and the physical plane that are in play here. And then lastly, higher moving. What happens next? And it's, notice it is higher moving, so it's about the body. Okay. Now, lust, remember, is not just about sex. Lust is, in a way, about cravings. It's in a way about, our creative energy, but using it bluntly. And it says, if you're not aware of your body, then pleasure falls away. And I think we all know that when we're in some kind of an addiction cycle, or we're, just trying to get high or trying to escape something that, that we're not involved in, then we're not necessarily getting the kind of pleasure we really desire or something. So this is saying, I take this as saying one thing, but I'm curious to hear if you, excuse me, pardon me, if any of you have any comments about what you've seen so far,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then we'll turn it.
Tony
Go ahead.
first, and then Jan.
All right, Tony, and then Jan. Go ahead, Tony.
Okay, what I'm seeing is that it's directly related to the energy depletion that can occur with a sage that's server cast. The giving of oneself gives you a certain sense of satisfaction, because you are, as a server cast sage, what you do is to disseminate energy that helps others. I think it's really significant with the 2, like you said, with the self as well as the essence card being in the negative pole. The essence card, the negative pole, is that you don't give enough back to yourself. You don't give enough back to yourself that in the same amount that you give to others. Particularly with Mercury, sage, communication.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
You are always giving to others, but servers don't like to ask for help. You need to ask for help, love. And we love you.
Thank you.
I know I love you. You're my entity mate. I love you.
Thank you, Tony. Let me move on to Jan, if I may, and then we'll, when Dawn's ready, we'll give it over to her. Jan, you're up next. Jan Russell.
Something flagged for me is card number 2, which says, whenever you abdicate choice. So maybe once you can figure out what choice you may have advocated, that will start turning things around health-wise. So that's my comment.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks. Is Dawn ready, or are there any other comments? Okay,
Several
so
other hands are raised, but should we do Dawn next?
Okay,
yeah, okay,
Or-
Dawn.
okay, all
Try
right,
and make
so.
it not too much of an astrological in-depth if you could, because I've got more to do here. But this is great. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not getting the ability to share screen
Oh,
yet, so
okay.
I somehow haven't received that, I guess, but it's
Right.
really simple, okay? What I got from that card, and so I'm talking about the 43 card right off the bat, and what the chart really looks like too is overthinking, that, you know, what you're trying to process is something from the emotional center, and you can't process the emotional center through the intellectual center. And so what happens is you're spinning your wheels. And what's going on in your birth chart is that you're just finished your Mercury return, which so Mercury overthinking and overthinking, double overthinking in the 7th house, and it will soon move off. And that's everything that I had to share you.
Awesome, Dawn. Thank you. By the way, let me point out two things here. Both Dawn using an astrological chart and having that as a supplemental ad, wonderful. You know, if you guys find that your other knowledge bases correlate with these things, whether you're doing a reading for yourself or for someone else, feel free to use them. Tony, for instance, knows, you know, my overleaf set pretty well, including my casting. So she was able to use that and incorporate that. Feel free. It's absolutely valid, because remember, whoever is reading for, you know, whoever you have brought these up to and said, sure, I'd like to do this with you, you are their vehicle. You are the exact right person. If they said yes to this, or they asked you to do this for them, you are the exact right input that they are looking for. Remember, you cannot do this wrong, but you can certainly use as many and multiple inputs as you have available to you. So, okay.
I was wondering, Steve, during Tony's pull, if numerology could be used with this. Every card's
Absolutely.
numbered.
Absolutely, it can. Especially for those of you who know your numerology, not only know your numerology, but who find numerology significant. Remember, these cards are as much of a Rorschach, folks. A Rorschach. They're a feedback to your own, they're triggers to your own imagination. And if you see it there, then use it, bring it out. It's there to be utilized. Don't hesitate. There's no wrong way to do this. And there's a lot of right ways to do this. So numerology would be another one. Just like Dawn saw the fact that the body type cards are all astrologically named. So go in and look at a person's astrology if you have that skill set, or if you have, like Dawn does, you know, an ability to generate a chart in a few minutes because she's got a program that'll do it for her. So she can cast a horoscope. All good uses. Very good.
So we have Jan, did you already do your thing, or? Yeah, okay. Then we have Terry.
Okay.
Again, is that from before?
No, I had another comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, there's a lot of body upgrades going on, you know, energetically. And this isn't from the cards. This is just from a comment. But I really am getting the feeling that you needed the downtime because you're processing energies that are coming in. And as a channel, you need to process them first so that then they can kind of channel through you. And I think actually you're going through some kind of an upgrade, to tell you the truth. And it's being felt on the physical level, but having pneumonia kind of gives you an opportunity to rest and to process those energetic upgrades. So.
Thank you, Terry. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Let's hope they're better than Microsoft.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's
Uninstalled a
hope.
bitch on the body, right? Okay.
And next is Renee.
Okay, Renee, go ahead. And this is going to be the final question on this one.
And
Get
Renee, you're muted. Unmute.
Yes, I've unmuted. Thank you. So yes, I'm being a little bit facetious with connecting the lust card with a smoking card, but actually smoking is a self-soothing. I've never smoked, but from people who have, it's a self-soothing. So I kind of concur with the people that have said that you need to do some self-care, some relaxation, and whatever soothing, you've said that you've smoked. So whatever smoking means for you signifies what you need to do is to do something else that is self-care and that same vein, whatever that might be in your life. So that's all I have to say.
Great. Thank you, Renee. No, that's a great input, great observation, and thank you, gang.
And
Lungs.
Catherine had a thing. Are you only taking?
I'd actually like to switch over to the next one if I can.
Okay.
Catherine, is it brief? Just say it. Go ahead. Get it out. I know I can't put a stopper in.
I was just going to suggest that there's ways if we can switch around that last card from the negative position into the positive position. I think if you begin to focus on your authentic self, rather than letting the nervousness, the anxieties distract you, that would be the way to return to a body harmony.
Okay. So notice here that by clicking on the card, which I did, it actually takes the card itself, if you see that, and it'll give it to you in the upright position to begin with. If I wanted to turn it around, I could click that little red negative sign and it will flip the card around for me. So it'll put it back to lust. And then if I click the positive pole, it'll put it back to the upright side. So it's about focusing on harmony. Thank you, Catherine. That's using the cards very well prescriptively. Excellent. Thank you. So, gang, thank you for that. I will tell you, just from a personal standpoint, my lungs have always been my weakest system. This is my 5th time this lifetime having full-on pneumonia, and I've had chronic bronchitis about 25 times. So yeah, it's something that I do a lot. All right, so I'm going to tell you that this is important to me, for me. This is about my friend Brenda, and I'm not going to tell you much about it. We're using the same health and healing layout, and we're coming down. And I apologize that this is a PDF I took of this reading, because obviously the one problem with a lot of my electronic stuff is you really can't. You can take a picture of it with your phone, or you can save it as a PDF, but otherwise there's no saving it per se, to repopulate those things. So the condition is assimilation, number 64 in the positive pole. And the symptoms is a Saturn, an actual body type, in the positive pole of formidable. So it says, perhaps it's time to chill out and assimilate what has just happened. Wait a bit and let things settle out. The rugged, and then the symptoms are the rugged are suited for confrontation and project an air of command. Stature is the impression one exudes, and it's experienced by others. Show your mettle by standing up for yourself. So both positive poles, and here is an axis card, isn't it? Now notice this is kind of an interesting first two. You get an action card, an axis card as the condition, and it's inculcation, assimilation. So the condition is literally saying this is about folding it all together. And interestingly enough, notice formidable, the Saturn card, is in the symptoms. So it's actually a body type card. I'm going to run through this and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Now, the cause, okay, is negative pole acceptance. And it says resign to a situation. You think this is acceptance? Not a chance. You've caved in on some dream or principle in order to ingratiate with a crowd that you believe might take care of you. Are you stuck brown-nosing in fear of losing? And that's the cause underlying the condition. Now, the treatment, interestingly enough, remember we had this, and look at that. It's exactly, and not only is it the same card as we had before, but it's also the same commentary.
Yeah,
Your
okay.
these are chosen by you. Now, let's go to the prognosis. Or excuse me, what really needs healing, pardon me. And this is higher intellectual in the negative pole telepathy. And notice what it says, believing that someone should know what you're thinking is a recipe for disaster. Ask, ask, ask. So that's what really needs healing, is apparently this person needed to ask for more. She needed to, hope that somebody would, she was relying on telepathy maybe when she really needed to ask. Again, my just surface interpretations for you. And then the prognosis. Okay. No matter if you believe in a higher power or not, act as if one is within you. Use it and be magnificent. Most powerful card in the deck, in the most, open position. So, gang, just out of curiosity, anybody have any comments?
Tony,
Tony.
unmute, Tony.
Okay, so what I'm getting, you've got an assimilative axis, so you get a scholar, and you've also got Saturn, which is structure. I think of scholars as structure. So what I'm picking up is someone that may have some sort of condition that is related to how they both live physically and are structured physically. And they've spent a lot of time pretending that they're okay.
Okay.
And when you move on down, can we move down? Can we scroll down? Okay.
Where?
So well, that's fine. I'm good. All right. Like the third and the fourth card, fourth and fifth card. What I'm getting is someone who has spent an awful lot of time denying their physicality, which to me is Saturn. Whether it is a condition like rheumatoid arthritis or some sort of disease that is not evident, people think that they can do it. They can just like power on through, and this person has allowed them to expect that of them. In order for them to really truly function as their personality, which is what they've chosen in this life, they need to stop being a people pleaser and make, can we scroll down a little more? So you can, okay, I'm please bear with me because I got some shit coming in and I don't know how to say it. She has spent more time taking care of other people, and her higher intellectual self is saying, you need to take care of yourself. There is something within your physicality that allows you to finally connect. The fact that presence and the real self are evident in this reading is that the more you ignore who you are in favor of making sure everyone thinks you're the strongest block in the tower is not doing you any good. That's what I got.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Anyone else have a comment about this reading? And then tell me to scroll up or scroll down and to the cards that you saw that were significant somehow to you.
We don't have any hands raised right now.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine then. Well, I will tell you why I pulled this one up. This was a friend of mine for over 40 years, and she died yesterday. And I just discovered it today. And I did this reading with the question in mind, you know, how was her passing? And many, you know, since none of you knew her and you know, would have no context for it, I found this a really remarkable reading, because, you know, other than the cycle off card, the assimilation inculcation card is about as you know, as much as being absorbed back into the system as it gets. And when I saw, and Brenda wasn't a very big person, but she was a force to be reckoned with. She was an artisan sage, 6th level mature, a cynic in aggression, in self-destruction. And when it came to, you know, taking care of her kids, she was, you know, a bag of wildcats. She was just so devoted to them. And she often had to do a lot of this ingratiation. I mean, she actually had a master's degree in communications and graphic design, and she never could get a job. In all the years she kept trying and trying, she could never get a job. So she was often stuck with low-income jobs that just barely helped, you know, make ends meet. Oh, what just happened there? Oh, no, come on now. Oh, I guess sorry about that. The link was still active. I didn't realize that. But anyway, so, and I know it was a negative for her. But what I was really glad to see was this card. That I think that when she left with her true self. You know, what I think this was like almost really a message to me, because she and I talked a lot, and she allowed me to see her on a level that was deeper than most. And when I saw this as the final card, you know, it's the Alpha and Omega. It was the beginning and the ending for her. The Alpha and the Omega there, you know, is the book on the Book of Life, and you know those Greek letters, meaning that it literally Alpha and Omega in, you know, much of ancient Greek philosophy talks about, you know, all that is, and that's the Tao, all that is. And so when I saw this in the positive pole, I took this as a wonderful, you know, sign for her. So thank you for you know, Tony, for taking a stab at it. I think you had some good input and some good insights. And also what I did with you here is I wanted to see you know, what your own sense of this was, just kind of jumping into it as a, you know, as a random exercise. So thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions about either this particular reading from the one I did for Brenda, or the health and healing layout, or in the final 7 or 8 minutes, have any questions that they want to do? I will stop the sharing and I will bring us back to our group, if that's okay with everybody, unless anyone has a question about the cards. I'll wait first. And I'm talking about card layout. Go ahead. Kong has a go ahead, Kong.
Yes, I just want to make a quick comment. So Steve, before you share the story, I also get a sense that there is a bit of resentment from your friend about life. Like I think, which is fitting based on what you said. I think maybe she has this she had this feeling that she deserved more in life, but for some reason it just didn't go the way she wants. I feel those kind of resentment maybe has been the direct cause of the illness. And also I get a sense that it might be cancer related, but that one I don't know for sure.
Well, it actually, in case you didn't catch that, Klong, she died yesterday. It was not of cancer. It was of an aneurysm. She had had several strokes over the last 10 years. Anyway, this one was finally fatal. Brenda was 67, so I think she came to the end of life task because all her children were doing as well as they could. And she was with her husband, who really cared for her, and who was, by the way, in acceptance, Chris, her husband. And remember, the overleaves I told you, a cynic in self-destruction and in aggression mode. She had some, what we call in the teaching, abraded overleaves, and he loved her just the same, and she fought for people more than against them, unless they kind of made her an enemy, I think the self-destruction finally caught up with her because she had so many maladies in the last 10 years of her life. And she was a smoker and a drinker, and had a number of things. So I can tell you that when I, coming back down to the last card, I felt a great deal of relief for her. Dear, dear person. And the kind of friend that every human being actually deserves. Somebody who would fight tooth and nail for you. So, yeah, I could also see, but yes, you are very right. Near the end, the cynicism brought her into denigration of, a lot of parts of her lone life, and she did feel a lot of resentment, Con. So, thank you for that.
And
All
then
right.
Alexandra.
Alexandra, go ahead.
Hi. I would not have chosen, had someone died in my life, to choose this health and healing spread. Why did you choose this?
A good question. A very, very good question, because I wanted to see what her final health was like, and I wanted to see if we hold the question that every event in our lives has some, bigger, broader meaning that is for our highest good, aka healing, then what was this event? What was this death event for her? That's why I chose it. And by the way, it's interesting. Here I invented it just 4 days ago, and I've been playing with it and tweaking it. But when I heard Brenda died, it's like it was no question to me, this is the one to use. It's almost as if my own pneumonia might have spurred the creativity, but hearing about her death today, said, oh yeah, this is the one. So that was just my thinking. And it's not the right choice or the wrong choice. It was just in the frame of reference I wanted to sample. And for everyone, let me just make that general comment. That's what the layouts are for, folks, a frame of reference. I don't want you thinking that there's a wrong one or a right one. There's some that may seem more obvious than others, no question, for a certain kind of a question. And in which case, if it's obvious to you and it seems right, then go for it for sure. Sometimes it may be more subtle. I'll give you a comparison. Sometimes, I may use the time trajectory spread, which is past, present, and future, which is 3 cards. Other times, I may use the future oracle spread, which is 5 cards and a bit more in depth. And it is also covering past, present, and future, but with a couple of additional pieces in it to give it more meat and more substantiation. Then, if it's talking about my past in terms of significant relationships like family, then I use the larger spread, of the family constellation spread, which is 7 cards. And that's covering the past, the present, and the future, but not just myself, but several players in that. So notice that past, present, and future could be represented, in a shorter way and in a longer way. just to help kind of raise your thinking. So who's next on their hands raised? I see.
So
It's
Alexandra, did you have another thing to say about this, or?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. The next one is Phil.
Phil Fauché. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, the assimilation came up as the general diagnosis of the situation, because it just feels to me like she, even though she had a braided overleaves, that she assimilated her lessons in life.
I agree. I agree.
And it's somehow, it just feels really good to me that, that she lived her life and she got it, what she came for.
Thank you, my friend. I thank you on her behalf for recognizing that. That does my heart really good. Brenda Mahoney was her name, was one of my dearest friends, and truly a mensch of a human being in so many ways. And it was so tough for her in so many ways. So yeah, the assimilation card, the self card, and the Tao card all spoke to me of what you just said. So thank you. So gang, I'm going to stop the share and I'm coming back. Hi there. And there's a few things I want to say, to all of us and to everyone here while we're wrapping up. Thank you for a great week 3. And Con, glad you decided to join us. Welcome and good to have you. Next week, I invite you as your little bit of assignment is to really go through all of the layouts. And I would encourage you to use the website, because the website does have more information. I also want to offer an apology that I had told you I wanted to update and send you all out the updated version of the Motivations Feedback System ebook. Well, I've decided that because I just haven't had the battery for it, I'm going to send you all out copies of what I have up to this point. So you're willing, there's still plenty of information in there. There were just more things I was going to add in. I will have this class list. And so in a few months, so maybe before the end of this year, I will have the update and I will just send you the updates. But for now, I'd like you to be able to have it and work with it. So anyway, going through your assignment, if you care to accept it, is to go through some of the layouts, and then you can either do them online or with your own cards, either way, and then bring them next week. If you had a particularly unique layout, email me, take a picture of it, email me a photograph of it, and we'll go through them. I'll lay them out like I did Tony's, and we'll go through them and look at them. Okay? So we are at 2 hours, and it is now 10 o'clock East Coast time, 9 o'clock Central time, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock Mountain time, and 7 o'clock Pacific time. So we are, I declare class at an end, and I want to thank you all for being here. And unless there are any more comments, we're going to go ahead and close up shop for the evening. Are we good? Okay, we got some applause and some hands, and all right.
Hope you are feeling better soon too, Steve.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. All right, well, I'll see you next Thursday. Same mic time, same mic channel.
Sending you metaphysical chicken soup.
Excellent. I hope it's got matzo balls.
Always. Nighty night.
All right, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.